For about 25 years, people have been asking me, when is the Messiah coming? Who's the Messiah? Have you seen any signs? What do the Mekubalim say? Well, usually the Mekubalim say very little. That's their style. People like to talk about the Messiah. People have hopes and dreams and a lot of history behind the Jewish people concerning the Messiah. So these are legitimate questions. But what I learned about after these questions after a while was that most of the people were not really looking for answers, but rather they were looking for a way to relieve their anxiety. That they were looking for hope from the difficulties of their everyday lives. That the Messiah had become a sort of instant switch, instant transformation that could come along and fix everything and make life better again, as if life isn't good now. Now this is a problem from several perspectives. Each person has their place in the question. Some people want Messiah to come to make life better. Some people want the Messiah to come to give the Jews power in the world. Some people want Messiah to come so there's a third temple and we restore the great glory of the Mikdash and the festivals and all the things that happened there. Some people just want the Messiah because they think it's going to make their job easier. And I've listened to the question so many times that I learned, as my teachers at Nar Shalom have taught, to say as little as possible, to give hope, to encourage in a simple way, like, well, with God's help, Bezrat Hashem. And it's kind of like a religious formula. When's the Messiah? Where's the Messiah? Bezrat Hashem, with the help. Where's the redemption? I want the redemption now. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe 30 some odd years ago said, all a person has to do is open his door and let the redemption in. Which means it's there already 30 years ago. The redemption. Now that's not the Messiah. The Messiah is a person as we understand him. However, if we look in the Tanakh de Eliyahu, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was in the Shuk in Jerusalem and he met Eliyahu Navi. Now Eliyahu Navi is a soul that transcends time completely, and he's been around for thousands of years, and he's been assigned some very interesting jobs. Usually it's teaching sages kabbalah that has not yet been revealed in the world. And Yeshua ben Levi, the Gemara tells us, is one of those people that never sinned. So he was certainly a person that was fitting for the great prophet of all times to come and reveal things to him. So when Yeshua ben Levi saw the Eliyahu Navi in the Shuk, he wasn't too shocked, and he said, Matai Marba, when is the Master coming? And of course he meant the Messiah. And Eliyahu Navi said, Hayom im betot kolo tishma'u, today if you hear his voice. Now isn't that interesting? He said that 2,000 years ago. The Jews were under the occupation of the Romans. And since then the Jews have been under the occupation of other people. Whether in their own land, here in Eretz Israel, we were occupied by the British, we were occupied by the Turkish. We were occupied by various forces during the Middle Ages and the great height of what they call the Crusades. It seems like it was a little bit different than a crusade. I think it was a religious occupation. But nonetheless, the Jewish people have been dealing with this question for thousands of years. And Eliyahu Navi said, Hayom in kolo tishmu. Now the Rambam comes along and defines the coming of Messiah much more specifically, that we need a temple, we need the ingathering of the exiles, and we need, of course, someone who fights the wars of God. But the Rambam also does say the redemption is here when Shibud Galuyot ends, when the enslavement of foreign powers ends, when the Jewish people have their own sovereignty. Now that happened in 1948. Not everybody liked it, not everybody accepted it, not everybody was on the same page. But nonetheless, in 1948, the Jewish people were recognized by the world community as having a homeland here in Eretz Israel. So which do you want? Which Messiah do you want? The one who comes in the body of a man? Of course we do. But he might not come for a while. Eliyahu Hanavi says, today, if you hear his voice. Now Rashi, on the first pasuk in the Torah, says that the spirit of Messiah is in the Ruach HaElohim, shemerachebet al pnei hamayim. The Spirit of God that is hovering above the waters in the beginning of creation. That is the Spirit of Messiah. He was created before anything close to humanity was around. The Spirit of redemption was created at the moment that God brought the world into reality. However many years ago it is, depending on how you measure. So that Spirit keeps coming back. And when Eliyahu Hanavi says, Hayom b'kolo tishmo, today if you hear his voice, that means your Messiah has come today. And if you don't hear his voice, well, it means either you're not listening or it's not yet time. And so it puts us in a very interesting position to reframe the question. Am I waiting for a man in a body to bring me out of my life into some fantastic future? Some supernatural existence? Or am I waiting for a person that comes, a spirit that comes, that helps me hear God within? And that's enough Messiah for me. And that's why all the Rebbe said, my Rebbe is Messiah. My Rebbe's Messiah. Because your Rebbe is the one that helps you hear your voice of God within.